Welcome to Before the Last Song Ends. This is a story about timing the kind you can't control and the choices we make when love arrives without permission. It's about showing up when staying hurts and leaving without erasing what mattered. Maya and Luis meet during a week that was never meant to hold anything new. What unfolds between them isn't loud or perfect. It's quiet, honest, and deeply human. This is not a story about being saved. It's a story about choosing with courage, restraint, and hope. You can get your copy of Before the Last Song Ends on Amazon.com. And if you're listening on YouTube, be sure to visit the channel The Reader's Retreat. Subscribe, leave a comment, and share the content. It truly helps the channel grow and allows more stories like this to reach readers who need them. Thank you for listening. Let's begin.
Before the Last Song Ends by Jan.H. Medina. Before the Last Song Ends. Copyright 2025 by Jan H. Medina. All rights reserved. No part of this book may be reproduced, distributed, or transmitted in any form or by any means, electronic, mechanical, photocopying, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the author, except for brief quotations used in reviews or scholarly works. This is a work of fiction. Names, characters, places, and events are either the product of the author's imagination or used fictitiously. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, or actual events is purely coincidental. First edition. Before the Last Song Ends by Jan H. Medina. Chapter 1. The Week She Leaves. Maya Alvarez didn't believe in signs. She believed in deadlines, in receipts, in the quiet math of rent and groceries and the way a city could swallow you whole if you let it. She believed in taking the elevator instead of the stairs because time was always short, and in keeping her keys on a lanyard because she'd lost them once during the worst week of her life and promised herself she would never feel that careless again. So when the subway stalled between stations and the lights flickered like a dying heartbeat, she didn't think, "This means something," she thought. Of course this is happening today. The train shuddered. A low groan rippled through the car, metal complaining under pressure. Someone cursed. Someone laughed nervously. A toddler began to cry with a sharp, panicked sound of something that didn't yet know how to pretend everything was fine. Maya checked the time on her phone. 6:42 p.m. She had 1 week left in Brooklyn. 7 days until she handed in her keys, hugged the apartment walls goodbye, and boarded a flight to Phoenix, not because she wanted to, but because her mother's voice on the phone had finally cracked. Not with drama, not with guilt, with exhaustion. The kind that settles into your bones and stays there. "I'm okay, Mija," her mother had said. Maya had known, immediately, that she wasn't. A man stood beside her, tapping his knee. Tap. Tap, tap. Mid-30s, maybe older. The kind of face that looked tired even when it tried not to be. His hands were rough working hands. There was a dark stain on his sleeve, something like coffee or blood, and Maya kept noticing it, even though it was none of her business. "You okay?" he asked suddenly. Maya blinked. "Yeah. Just late." His mouth tilted, not quite a smile. More like recognition. Late is normal. Stuck is the problem. That's a philosophical way to describe the MTA. He glanced at her. Really looked For a second, she felt uncomfortably visible. "Sorry," he said. "I talk like that when I'm tired." A voice crackled over the speakers. "We apologize for the delay. We are experiencing signal issues. Please remain calm." The car collectively did not remain calm. Maya's phone buzzed. Reminder. Final walkthrough Tuesday, 10 a.m. Another ending. She locked the phone and exhaled through her nose, forcing her shoulders down. She didn't cry on trains. She didn't cry in public. She cried alone, with the faucet running, because that was how adults held themselves together, except she wasn't together. Her life was packed into boxes somewhere between starting over and running away. The man beside her shifted. She noticed the scars on his knuckles, old ones, faded but permanent. He caught her glance and tucked his hands into his jacket like he'd been caught doing something rude. "You're leaving," he said. Maya frowned. "What?" He nodded toward the small carry-on at her feet. Bright orange luggage tag, crescent-shaped scuff on the side. "People with bags at rush hour are either tourists or leaving," he said. "You're not dressed like a tourist." She almost laughed. It came out thin. "It's my week of goodbyes." The word felt too big. He didn't ask why, didn't rush to fill the space, just nodded, like he respected the shape of pain without trying to touch it. "That's a hard week," he said. "Is it that obvious?" "It's in your shoulders," he said. "Like you've been carrying something heavy for a long time." Her throat tightened. She hated him for being right. Before she could answer, a ripple of panic moved down the car. The toddler's cry jumped to a scream. Someone gasped. Maya leaned forward. A young man had slumped against the door, sliding down like gravity had finally claimed him. His friends were shaking him, voices climbing over each other. "Hey, wake up! Bro, come on!" The lights flickered again. The air felt thinner. Maya's body went cold. She'd seen this before. Years ago, different city, different floor. Her father collapsed in the kitchen, her mother screaming a prayer that didn't change anything. The man beside her moved fast. He was out of his seat before Maya could process it. Pushed through the crowd with calm authority. Knelt beside the slumped man, fingers at his neck, then tilted his chin. "Give him space," he said. "Quiet, firm. Back up, is he?" one of the friends asked. "Not yet," the man replied. "But he's close." Maya stood, not because she knew what to do, but because sitting felt like drowning. The man looked over his shoulder. You have water?" She reached into her bag with shaking hands. She always carried water. She handed him the bottle. Their fingers brushed warm against cold. A jolt. He cracked the cap, poured some onto his hand, pressed it to the man's forehead. "Breathing's shallow," he muttered. "Call 911, someone shouted. "I did." Maya crouched beside them before she realized she was moving. She held the bottle out again. The man glanced at her. Gratitude flickered across his face. "Thank you." 2 words. They landed heavier than they should have. He spoke to the unconscious man like he could hear. "Stay with me. You're okay. You're not alone." Something broke open in Maya's chest. The man's eyelids fluttered. A weak breath dragged in. "There we go," the stranger murmured. The train lurched, embarrassed to have paused. Lights steadied. Relief swept the car. The doors opened at the next station and paramedics rushed in. The man gave them a clean report. Calm, precise. Former EMS, one asked. Used to be. They loaded the young man onto a stretcher. His friends followed, wrecked and silent. The doors closed. Life resumed. Maya sat down slowly, heart still pounding. The man returned to his seat beside her, staring at the floor. His hands trembled just slightly. "You okay?" she asked. He exhaled. "Yeah, just hate how close it always is." Close. The word lodged in her ribs. "You did good," she said. "That your professional opinion?" "My professional opinion is graphic design," she said. "My human opinion is you didn't freeze." He nodded once. Didn't argue. "I'm Louise," he said. "Maya." They didn't shake hands. The train rattled forward. Tunnel lights streaked past. Phoenix. Her mother. Someday. Louis glanced at her bag again. "Leaving for good? I don't know," she admitted. "I don't know if I have the strength to leave twice." Louise's expression softened. "Leaving twice is brutal." She studied him. "You've done it." He nodded. The train announced her stop. Maya stood. Louis stood too. "This is me," she said. "Me, too." They stepped onto the platform together. At the stairs, Maya hesitated. He waited. "Thank you," she said. "For being there." "Same," he replied. Then, carefully, "If you're doing goodbyes this week, you don't have to do them alone." Hope arrived quietly, uninvited, dangerous. Maya nodded once. "Okay." And together they walked up the stairs into the city, two strangers carrying storms, unaware that love had already begun, not as a goal, but as a consequence. Before the Last Song Ends by Jan H. Medina. Chapter 2. Rules for not falling. The first rule happened without being spoken. Maya didn't text Louis that night. Not because she didn't want to. Not because she hadn't replayed his voice in her head, steady, calm, the kind that didn't rush to fix things but somehow made them feel less heavy. She didn't text because the moment on the platform felt fragile, like something that could collapse under expectation. And because she had rules. Rules were how she kept her life from spilling everywhere. Rule 1. Don't start something you can't finish. Rule 2. Don't confuse kindness with fate. Rule 3. Don't fall for a man during the week you're leaving. Especially not one who looked like he'd been holding his breath for years. So Maya went home. She ate half a bag of tortilla chips standing at the sink, staring at the wall like it might explain why her chest felt tight. She opened her laptop and tried to work on a freelance poster for a jazz festival she wouldn't be in the city to see. Her cursor blinked. She closed the laptop. She showered. She climbed into bed. She placed her phone face down on the nightstand, as if not looking at it would keep her from wanting something. At 1:07 a.m., it buzzed anyway. Unknown number. She stared at it, heart thudding. Then she remembered on the platform when he'd asked if she had someone to call if she needed help, and she'd said, "I'm fine," out of habit. He'd held out his phone, not insisting, just offering. Just in case. Now, the just in case was vibrating beside her. She flipped the phone over. Got home safe? She exhaled slowly. Her thumb hovered. Rules pressed in from all sides. She typed anyway. "Yeah." "You?" A pause. 3 dots. Gone. Back again. "Yeah. Sorry if that was weird. I'm trying to be less closed off. It's a work in progress. Maya smiled faintly. It wasn't weird. You don't seem closed off. You seem careful. 3 dots again. Careful is the generous word. What's the honest one? Afraid. The word landed clean and unprotected. Maya swallowed. She should have ended the conversation. A polite good night, a boundary, a clean exit. Instead, she typed the truth. Same. His reply came quickly. You said it's your week of goodbyes. Can I do something that's not a goodbye? Her heart kicked hard. Like what? Coffee. No pressure. Just coffee. Coffee. Not dinner. Not drinks. No implied future. That somehow made it worse. She looked around her apartment boxes stacked against the wall, tape on the table, everything half finished. Sunday loomed like weather. Rule 1 echoed, but rules were meant to protect you from harm, not from living. Coffee's fine. 1 hour. Deal. 10 a.m. tomorrow, near Bedford. She typed, okay, and immediately regretted it. Then her phone buzzed again. Rule request? That's not ominous at all. We should have rules so we don't mess each other up. Her chest tightened. 1 rule. You go first. She hesitated, then typed. No pretending this is more than it is. It's coffee. That's all. Accepted? My rule. You don't have to perform okay. The words sat there, heavy and precise. She didn't reply to that one. Good night, Louise. Good night, Maya. She lay awake long after the screen went dark, aware that something had shifted without asking permission. The coffee shop was aggressively Brooklyn white tile. Too many plants, jazz playing at a volume meant to sound intentional. Maya arrived 3 minutes early and hated herself for it. She chose a table by the window, an exit view. Always, Louise walked in exactly on time. No scanning the room like he was hunting. No false confidence, just quiet presence. When he saw her, something in his posture softened. Hey, he said, hey. They hovered for half a second hug, handshake. Nothing. Maya solved it. Sit. He did. She noticed details she hadn't before. A small cut on his knuckle, a faded tattoo at his wrist, tension in his shoulders like he carried weight out of habit. What do you want? He asked. Coffee, she said quickly. Rules. His mouth twitched. Right, I'll get it, he said, already standing. She watched him order. He didn't rush the barista, didn't check his phone. He moved like someone who'd learned patience the hard way. He returned and set a latte in front of her. Oat milk, he said. If I guessed wrong, I'll trade. She blinked. How did you vibe? He said dryly. She snorted. Oat milk vibe. Strong sustainability energy. I recycle, she said. Exactly. She smiled before she could stop herself. The hour passed faster than she expected. They didn't flirt. They didn't perform. They talked about work, about leaving, about the strange guilt of wanting things that don't align with responsibility. When Maya checked her watch, it was already 10:55. 5 minutes left. She hated that it mattered. Outside, the city moved around them like it always had. This is me, she said at the corner. Louis nodded. Rules check? She hesitated, then nodded. One more, he said carefully. We show up this week. No promises past Sunday, just presents. The rules scared her because it was reasonable. She nodded. 1 week. 1 week, he echoed. He didn't kiss her, didn't reach. That restraint felt more intimate than anything else could have. As she walked home, her phone buzzed. Today counted. You did good. Maya smiled, quiet and real. For the first time in weeks, the city didn't feel like it was swallowing her. It felt like it was holding her up. Before the Last Song Ends by Jan H. Medina, Chapter 3. What we don't say. The third day arrived quietly. Maya noticed because she woke without the familiar spike of panic in her chest. It wasn't gone, just muted, like something waiting its turn. She lay still for a moment, listening to the city outside her window. A delivery truck idling, someone arguing in Spanish 2 floors down, a siren that rose and fell before it finished its thought. Sunday was 4 days away. That knowledge lived in her now, not as a countdown, but as pressure. A constant adjustment, like learning how to sleep beside something uncomfortable because there was no other option. Her phone buzzed at 8:13 a.m. Morning. I'm not checking in because of the rules. I'm checking in because I wanna... Also because of the rules. Maya smiled, slow and reluctant. Appreciated clarification. Maya? Morning. She sat up, feet on the cold floor, grounding herself. Boxes lined the wall, half labelled, half ignored. She'd planned to pack more today. She already knew she wouldn't. How are you really? The question lingered. Rule. You don't have to perform, okay? She typed, erased, typed again. I feel like I'm living in parentheses. Like my real life is paused and everything else is a footnote. The reply came quickly. That's not nothing. Want company later? No agenda. Her chest tightened. This wasn't coffee. This was closer. Still no agenda. Maybe. I need to drop a box at the post office later. I can walk with you? If maybe turns into no, that's okay. She stared at the message, something warm and unnerving blooming in her chest. Okay, around 4. Louise was waiting outside her building when she came down, hands in his jacket pockets, looking up at the fire escape like he was trying to imagine the life that had unfolded behind the windows. Hey, he said. Hey! She locked the door behind her and adjusted the strap on the medium-sized box in her arms. It's not heavy, she said preemptively. He raised an eyebrow. That sounds like a challenge. Before she could protest, he took the box from her with easy confidence. Their fingers brushed brief, unintentional, charged. Still not heavy, he said. Thank you, Superman. I break walls for a living, he replied. This is light work. They walked. The city felt honest today. Not romantic, not softened. Cracked sidewalks, trash bags stacked near the curb. A man sleeping on cardboard outside the deli, breath fogging the air. Maya noticed the way Louis saw these things, not staring, not flinching, just aware. What's in the box? He asked. Sketchbooks, she said after a beat. Old ones. Old how? College, early freelance. She shrugged. Stuff I don't need. Louise glanced at her. You sure? She frowned. Why wouldn't I be? Because people usually keep the things that remind them who they were before things got hard. Her throat tightened. I remember, she said. I just don't need to carry it. He didn't argue, but his silence said he wasn't convinced. At the post office, Louis held the door with his foot. Maya filled out the shipping label slowly. Phoenix, Arizona. The clerk stamped it without ceremony. The box disappeared behind the counter. Outside, Maya exhaled shakily. They didn't talk for a block. When they reached the park, Maya slowed. Want to sit? Louise asked. She nodded. They chose the same bench as before. Kids chased pigeons. An older couple sat nearby, hands resting close but not touching, like they didn't need to prove anything. You don't talk about your dad much, Louise said quietly. I don't talk about him at all, Maya corrected. Why? She stared at the gravel. Because every time I do, it feels like reopening a door that took a lot of strength to close. Louise nodded. What's behind it? Grief, she said, and guilt, and all the things I didn't say because I thought I had time. Louise inhaled slowly. I lost my partner. She looked at him. Your work partner, EMS, Matteo. She waited. He was reckless, Louise continued. Funny. Believed every call would end okay if you worked hard enough. Maya swallowed. What happened, drunk driver? His voice stayed even. We were first on scene. I knew immediately. His hands clenched, then relaxed. I was doing CPR on someone I loved, he said, and I remember thinking, this is the moment that breaks me. Her eyes burned. Did it? She asked. Yes, he said. Just slowly. Maya wiped her tears without apology. That's why I said, you don't have to perform okay, Louis said, because I know what it costs. I hate that pain is how people connect, she whispered. Louis shook his head. Pain just removes the nonsense faster. She huffed softly. You're terrible at small talk. Unrecoverable, he agreed. They sat quietly, the silence full but not strained. Can I say something selfish? Maya asked. You don't have to label it. I wish my mum had waited, she admitted. Just a little longer. Louise didn't judge. Because then, she continued, I wouldn't have to leave this version of myself behind. What version? The one who finally stopped apologizing for existing. Louise met her gaze. That version doesn't disappear because you change cities. You don't know that. I know you didn't build her by accident. The truth settled into her. I'm scared of you, she said suddenly. Louise blinked. Me? You're present, she said. That invites attachment. And attachment invites loss, he said. She nodded. But it also invites connection, he added. And connection reminds us we're alive. I don't want to fall in love, Maya said. Neither do I, he replied, without hesitation. She searched his face. Why? Because love changes people, he said. And I'm still learning who I am without the version of me that broke. She absorbed that. So what are we doing? She asked. We're doing what we said, he said gently. Showing up. They walked back toward her building as evening crept in. At the door, she hesitated. Tomorrow night, Louise said. There's a rooftop. Quiet. No expectations. She nodded. Okay. They stood there, neither rushing away. Maya felt the urge to close the distance, to take more than the moment allowed. She didn't. Thank you, she said instead. For trusting me, he replied. Inside her apartment, she leaned against the door and closed her eyes. Her phone buzzed. "You okay?" "Yeah, just feeling things." "That's not a bad sign," she smiled. Hope, she realized, was risky, but it was also alive. Before the Last Song Ends, by Jan H. Medina, Chapter 4. The cost of staying. The rooftop in Queens didn't announce itself. Maya followed Louis up a narrow stairwell that smelled faintly of dust and old paint, the city noise thinning with every step. The metal door at the top was dented, scraped by years of careless exits. Louise pushed it open with his shoulder, and cold air rushed past them, sharp and honest. The city unfolded, not glamorous, not staged. Water towers hunched over neighbouring buildings like tired animals. Windows glowed unevenly. Somewhere far off, a train screeched, metal biting metal. Maya stepped out slowly. She hadn't realized how badly she needed air until it filled her lungs. "This is where I come when I don't want to be seen," Louise said, closing the door behind them. "No one comes up here unless they already know it exists." Maya wrapped her arms around herself. "It feels unfinished," Louise nodded. "That's why I like it." They stood near the edge, not quite touching the low wall. The wind tugged at Maya's hair, cold enough to sting. She welcomed it. Cold meant present. Louis leaned against the wall, hands in his pockets. He didn't crowd her. He never did. They watched the city breathe. "I almost didn't come," Maya said. Louise turned slightly. "Why?" "Because this feels like a line," she said, "and I'm afraid of crossing it." "Lines aren't always traps," he said. "Sometimes they just tell you where you are." "And where you can't go back from," she replied. He nodded once. Maya looked at him. "Why did you invite me here?" Louise didn't answer right away. He stared out over the rooftops, jaw tightening slightly. "Because," he said finally, "I'm starting to care. And pretending I'm not would be the lie." The words landed clean and dangerous. She swallowed. "Louise." "I know," he said quietly. "You're leaving. Sunday." I didn't forget. The wind moved between them like a held breath. "If I weren't leaving," Maya asked, "would this be different?" "Yes," Louis said without hesitation. Her heart lurched. "And that's why we have to be careful," he continued. "If we pretend this is casual, it will hurt more." She stared at the city lights, blinking fast. "I hate how reasonable you are," he smiled faintly. "I hate it too. My mom called today," Maya said. Louise turned fully now. "How is she?" "Tired," Maya said. "She won't admit it, but I hear it." He nodded. "That's hard." "She asked if I was ready," Maya continued. "And I told her yes." "Are you?" "No." The honesty felt like a relief. "I'm scared that if I stay," Maya said, "I'll hate myself for not being there for her. And if I go, I'll resent her for needing me." Louise exhaled slowly. "That's not a fair choice." "Everyone keeps acting like it is," she said. "It isn't," he replied. "It's cruel." The word settled deep. "What would you do?" she asked. "I'd go," he said quietly, "because some responsibilities don't wait for permission, even if it costs you something." "Yes," he said, "especially then." She studied him. "You've paid that cost," He didn't deny it. When Matteo died, Louise said, his sister called me. She wanted to know what I did wrong. Maya's chest tightened. I stayed on the phone for 2 hours, he continued. Let her scream. Let her blame me. Because she needed somewhere to put the pain. That wasn't fair to you, Maya said. No, he agreed. But it was necessary. He looked back at the city. That's the cost of staying. You carry things that don't belong to you. The cost of leaving is living with the question of whether you could have done more. Maya felt tears spill over. She didn't stop them. I don't know which cost I can afford, she whispered. Louise stepped closer, not touching, just near enough to block the wind. Sometimes, he said, you don't choose the cheaper cost. You choose the one you can live with. She closed her eyes. Phoenix, Brooklyn, her mother's kitchen, this rooftop. Louise, I don't want to be your escape, she said. And I don't want to be your reason to stay, he replied. They stood balanced on something honest and painful. This is the least romantic rooftop conversation I've ever had, Maya said softly. Louise smiled. Yeah, but it's the truest. The cold finally crept too deep. Without asking, Louise slipped off his jacket and draped it over her shoulders. The gesture was simple, careful. She inhaled. It smelled like soap and cold air. Thank you. Don't read into it, he said lightly. She raised an eyebrow. Liar. His smile faded into something gentler. Maya, can I ask something selfish? Yes. When you leave, he asked, will you disappear? The question lodged deep. I won't ghost you, she said. If that's what you mean. Relief flickered across his face before he masked it. That's enough. They descended the stairs together. Outside, under a flickering streetlight, they stopped. Tomorrow's your walkthrough, Louis said. Tuesday. Want company after? She hesitated, then nodded. Yes. They stood there, the city humming around them. Maya leaned forward and rested her forehead briefly against his chest. Louise's hand settled lightly on her back, steady, grounding. They stayed like that for 3 heartbeats. Then she stepped back. Good night, Louise. Good night, Maya. She watched him walk away. Inside her apartment, surrounded by boxes, Maya cried not because she was leaving, but because staying would cost her something too. And love, she realized, was never free. It simply asked what you were willing to pay. Before the Last Song Ends, by Jan H. Medina, Chapter 5. The night the city holds its breath. The day fractured before it had the chance to settle. Maya's phone rang at 6:02 a.m., slicing through sleep like a blade she hadn't braced for. For one disoriented second, she thought it might be Luis. Some part of her had already begun filing his name under safe. It wasn't. Mija, her mother said, voice thin and rushed. I didn't want to worry you, but... Maya sat upright, heart racing. What happened? A pause. Too long. I fainted, her mother said quickly. I'm fine now. The neighbour called an ambulance. They said dehydration. Maya's chest tightened painfully. You went to the hospital? I'm home, her mother insisted. I didn't want to tell you before your apartment thing. Maya pressed her fingers to her forehead. You should have told me. I didn't want to pull you apart, her mother said softly. Too late. When the call ended, Maya sat frozen on the edge of the bed, staring at the wall. The apartment felt smaller, like it was already retreating from her. This was the moment, not Sunday, not the flight. This, her phone buzzed again. Morning, thinking about you today. Her hands shook. She typed, Maya, my mom fainted this morning. She's okay. I'm not. 3 dots appeared immediately. I'm coming. You don't have to too. I know. I want to. 20 minutes later, there was a knock. Maya opened the door without checking. Louise stood there, hair still damp, jacket half zipped, worry etched openly across his face. He didn't ask permission. He didn't hesitate. She stepped forward and wrapped her arms around him. Louise held her like it was instinct, one arm solid across her back, the other steady at her shoulder, not urgent, not possessive, just there. I'm here, he said quietly. You don't have to explain. She nodded against him, breathing him in until the tightness eased. When they pulled apart, she wiped her eyes, embarrassed by how quickly the wall had collapsed. Sorry, she said automatically. Louis shook his head. Don't. They sat on the floor among boxes because the couch was buried in half-packed life, Maya explained between breaths. Louis listened without interrupting. What's the plan? He asked when she finished. Maya laughed. Brittle. I don't know. I have the walkthrough in an hour. I have a flight in 4 days, and a mum pretending she's fine. Louise nodded once. Okay. She looked at him. That's it? That's enough, he said. One thing at a time. He stood. Walk through first. I'll wait, or I'll come. Come, she said, immediately then caught herself. If that's okay, it is. The walkthrough passed in a blur. Cabinets opened. Walls inspected. Questions asked that felt insulting in their normalcy. Maya signed papers with a hand that felt disconnected from her body. When the landlord left, the silence rushed in. This is it, Maya said quietly. It's already over. Louis stood beside her. No, this chapter is... She shook her head. This place was proof I could survive alone. And you did, he said. Then why? Does it feel like failure? Louis considered her. Because independence became your armor, and armor is heavy to take off. And as the truth landed hard, Maya sank onto a box, head in her hands. I don't want to be strong today. Louise crouched in front of her. Then don't be. Borrow mine. Her breath caught. You don't have to carry everything alone, he said. Not today. She leaned forward and rested her forehead against his shoulder. He stayed still, letting her choose the shape of the comfort. Night came quietly. Louise cooked dinner from what little remained: eggs, rice, an onion. They ate on the floor, the television off, the city murmuring through the windows. Afterward, Maya stood at the window. I should change my flight, she said. Louis didn't rush to answer. When my mum called, Maya continued, I wanted to pack everything and leave immediately. And part of you didn't, Louise said. She nodded. That part scares me. Why? Because it means this matters more than I want it to. Louise joined her at the window. It already matters. Maya turned to him. Say it, he inhaled slowly. I don't want this to end. Her breath caught. But I won't be the reason you don't go, he continued. I refuse to be that man. Tears slid down her face. I don't want to resent you or myself. Silence pressed in. Maya stepped closer. I'm not afraid of loving you, she said softly. Louise's eyes widened. I'm afraid of loving you and still having to leave. That fear makes sense, he said. If this were a story, Maya whispered. This is where we'd kiss. Louise smiled faintly. Yeah, but this isn't a story, she said. This is where we choose who we are. She took a breath. I'm going to Phoenix, she said. Not running, not erasing this. I'm going because my mom needs me. Louise exhaled slowly. And tonight, Maya added, I want to stay with you. No promises, no escape. Louise searched her face. Are you sure? Yes, she said, because I don't want to regret being brave. They kissed slow, deliberate, unhurried, no desperation, no pretending. When they pulled apart, her eyes were wet. Thank you, Louise said. For what? For choosing honestly, he replied. They stayed awake late, talking quietly, sometimes not at all. Outside, the city seemed to slow. It was the night the city held its breath, not because love began, but because fear didn't win. Before the Last Song Ends, by Jan H. Medina. Chapter 6. After the goodbye. Morning arrived without ceremony. No dramatic light, no sudden clarity, just the low hum of the refrigerator, the soft knock of pipes in the walls, and the quiet knowledge that something had already ended. Maya woke first. She lay still, listening to Louis's breathing beside her, slow, even, unguarded. The night before, replayed in fragments. The honesty, the restraint, the kiss that hadn't asked for promises it couldn't keep. She didn't feel regret. That surprised her. What she felt was grief, not sharp, not panicked, steady, the kind that came from choosing something difficult on purpose. Maya slipped out of bed carefully and crossed the apartment barefoot. Boxes lined the walls like witnesses. She poured coffee and stood at the window, mug warming her hands as the city woke. Brooklyn didn't care that her life was rearranging itself. It never had. Behind her, the bed shifted. Louise appeared in the doorway, hair rumpled, shirt creased, eyes tired but clear. He didn't smile right away. Neither did she. Morning, he said. Morning. He joined her at the window, close but not touching. The space between them felt delicate now, something that could be damaged if handled carelessly. I should go soon, he said. Maya nodded. I know. They stood quietly, sharing the view like a ritual neither wanted to name. Your mum? Louise asked. I changed the flight, Maya said. I'm leaving tonight. He absorbed that without interruption. His jaw tightened, then eased. Okay, he said. You don't have to say anything, she added. I know, he replied. I just don't want to say the wrong thing. There isn't one, Maya said. He smiled faintly. That helps. They ate breakfast, toast, eggs, the last piece of fruit. Ordinary things that felt unbearably fragile. When it was time, Louis picked up his jacket and stood by the door, hands in his pockets like he was stopping himself from reaching. Maya felt the urge to ask him to stay longer, to come to the airport, to soften the ending. She didn't. This is the goodbye, she said quietly. Louis nodded. Yeah. He stepped forward and wrapped his arms around her firm, grounding, familiar already. Maya pressed her face into his shoulder, breathing him in like she could store the memory somewhere safe. "I'm proud of you," he said. Her throat tightened. "For what?" "For choosing intentionally," he replied. "Most people just react." She pulled back, eyes shining. "I wish the timing were different." "Me too," he said. They didn't kiss again. They didn't need to. Louise opened the door, paused. "Maya?" "Yes, don't disappear on yourself," he said. "Wherever you land," she nodded. "You either?" He smiled small, sincere, and left. The door closed with a soft click. And just like that, the week ended. The airport moved around her like a current. Maya followed signs and lines on autopilot. Security, boarding announcements, the shared anxiety of strangers pretending not to notice each other. She texted Louise once. "Boarding, thank you for this week." She turned her phone off before she could wait for a response. As the plane lifted, the city shrank beneath her. She waited for the ache to overwhelm her. It didn't. It settled instead, heavy but contained. Something she could carry. Phoenix greeted her with heat and familiarity. Her mother looked smaller than Maya remembered, thinner too, but her smile was stubborn as ever. "You didn't have to rush," her mother said, hugging her tight. "I wanted to," Maya replied, and meant it. The days that followed were quiet in a way that exhausted differently. Doctor appointments, groceries, long afternoons where the ceiling fan hummed and time stretched thin. Maya cooked meals she hadn't made in years, sat beside her mother watching old shows neither of them loved. She listened. At night, she stared at the unfamiliar ceiling and missed a city that felt like another life. She missed Louise, too, but she didn't reach for him right away. She remembered the rule. No erasing, no pretending. She let absence exist. Louise threw himself into work, not to disappear, but to stay upright. Extra shifts, leading a new crew, honest exhaustion that left no space for spiraling. At night, he went to the rooftop alone. The city looked the same. He didn't. He thought about Maya in fragments, the way she laughed when surprised, the way she didn't soften truth to make herself easier to carry. He didn't text her, not because he didn't want to, because he respected what they'd chosen. 2 weeks passed. Then one evening, his phone buzzed. "Fix the sink today." "Turns out, I still function." Louise smiled, never doubted it. "How's your mum?" "Maya." Stubborn, which means better. They didn't talk long. They didn't need to. The messages came like that, unforced, unclaimed, updates without obligation. Maya sent photos of desert sunsets. Louise sent one of the city at dusk. Time moved. Something shifted. Maya started sketching again. At first, only lines. Nothing finished. Then one night, she filled an entire page. A rooftop. Not Brooklyn, not Phoenix. Something in between. She stared at it, breath shallow. She wasn't pausing her life anymore. She was building it differently. Louis started training again too. Not EMS, not yet, but first aid classes at a community center. Teaching basics, being useful without burning out. One night on the rooftop, phone in hand, he made a decision. "I've been thinking, Not about what if, about what now. Maya read it twice. Maya, me too. They talked that night, really talked for the first time since she left. About fear, about growth, about how love didn't require proximity to be real. I don't want to be frozen in this moment, Louise said. Neither do I, Maya replied. They didn't define anything. They didn't need to. What they were doing, choosing themselves without erasing each other, felt stronger than labels. Months passed. Maya's mother grew stronger, laughed more. One night, washing dishes together, her mother glanced at her. You're different, she said. Good different? Maya asked. Yes, her mother said. Like you stopped shrinking. That night, Maya booked a flight. Not to move back, to visit. She told Louise simply, I'll be in New York next month. No expectations. Just presence. Louise stared at the message for a long time. I'll be here. Same terms. Maya smiled. Something light and steady settling into her chest. Hope didn't feel fragile anymore. It felt earned. Before the Last Song Ends by Jan H. Medina, Chapter 7. A real ending. The city did not rush to meet her. That was the first thing Maya noticed when she stepped out of the subway station in Brooklyn a month later. No dramatic swell of music, no cinematic timing, just the steady rhythm of footsteps, the hiss of buses, the low hum of conversations layered over one another like a language she still spoke fluently. She stood still for a moment, her small suitcase at her side, and let it settle. She wasn't returning to reclaim something. She wasn't testing fate. She was visiting on purpose. That difference mattered. Maya checked her phone. No new messages. That, too, was deliberate. She and Louise had agreed. No arrival countdowns, no anxious play-by-play. They would meet when they met. Presence over anticipation. She smiled to herself and started walking. Brooklyn felt sharper than she remembered. Smaller, too. The bodega cat was still there, unimpressed. The coffee shop on the corner had closed, replaced by something minimalist and joyless. Her old building stood exactly the same, the fire escape unmoved by time or sentiment. For a moment, the ache rose quick and familiar. Then it passed. She kept going. They found each other at the park without planning it. Maya saw him first, not because she was searching, but because some part of her recognized his shape before her mind caught up. Louis sat on the same bench as before, elbows resting on his knees, staring out at the gravel and pigeons like the world might eventually explain itself. He looked different, not in a way that demanded comment, not dramatically altered, just steadier. Louise felt her presence before he saw her. He looked up, eyes scanning, then settling. They didn't wave. They didn't rush. Maya stopped a few feet away. Hey, Louise stood slowly. Hey, for a moment, neither of them moved. This was the space where things usually collapsed, where people rushed to reassure, to define, to decide what something meant before it had time to breathe. Maya broke it first. You look good. Louise smiled, unguarded. So do you, she shrugged. Desert air must be working, he said. They sat. The bench felt familiar beneath them, unassuming, patient. So, Louise said after a moment, how does it feel? Maya considered. Different, she said. Not heavier, not lighter, just clearer. He nodded. That sounds right. She glanced at him. And you? I stopped hiding from my own life, he said. Turns out staying present takes work. She smiled softly. It does. They talked without urgency about her mother's recovery, about a freelance contract that had turned into something steady, about his classes at the community centre. They didn't interrupt each other. They didn't compete for whose growth mattered more. Their lives existed side by side. As the afternoon thinned into evening, Louise stood. Walk with me? Maya nodded. They walked without destination. Their hands brushed once accidental. Neither of them pulled away. Neither of them grabbed on. The restraint still mattered. They ended up back at the rooftop. The same dented door, the same unfinished edge. The city spread beneath them, unchanged and endlessly moving. Maya leaned against the wall. Last time we were here, everything felt like a choice with consequences. Louise nodded. Still does, she smiled. But now it feels survivable. He studied her. You're not afraid anymore. I am, she said, just not frozen by it. He stepped closer, not crowding, just present. Maya, he said quietly, I need to say something. And it doesn't come with expectations. She met his eyes. Okay, I love you. The words were calm, unadorned, not urgent, just true. Maya felt her breath catch, but not with fear, with recognition. I know, she said softly. I do too. Luis didn't move immediately. He waited. Maya closed the last inch between them. Their kiss this time was different, not tentative, not hungry, certain. When they pulled apart, the city kept breathing. Luis rested his forehead against hers. So, what does this look like? Maya smiled, not hopeful in a fragile way, but grounded. It looks like two people who don't abandon themselves to stay connected. Luis exhaled, something loosening in his chest. I can do that. I know, she said. They stayed on the rooftop until stars began to appear faint, but stubborn against the glow. When it was time to part again, there was no drama in the goodbye, just intention. Luis walked her to the subway entrance. They stopped at the top of the stairs. This isn't an ending, Maya said. No, Luis agreed. It's an honest pause. She kissed him once more, brief, warm. Thank you, she said, for not trying to save me. Thank you, he replied, for not asking me to disappear. Maya descended the stairs. She turned once. Luis was still there, hands in his pockets, watching her go, not with fear, not with loss. With trust, the train doors closed. The city carried her forward. And as the tunnel lights streaked past, Maya understood something clearly for the first time. Love hadn't arrived to complete her. It had arrived to walk beside her. Not promised forever. Not easy, but real. And that was enough.